Hello, Carraige. Welcome to Stories, Legends and Wonders of Oran. Oran is also known as Inchmore, the largest of the three Aran Islands. I'm Dara Malloy, Dara O'Mailia as Gaeilge. I'm bringing you now to Clocha na Carraige. This is a beehive hut, probably built by the monks, perhaps as early as the 6th century, maybe later up to the 9th century. And it's in Kilmurvey, but not where you go to climb Dún Aengus. If you're coming from Kilronan, you take the right fork at Kilmurvey beach and go past the beach and on out till you get to a crossroads. And then you take a right turn there at that sign. So you go down the lane here towards the sea. The sea is to the north now. We're heading downhill. And there's a few twists and turns on the road, so make sure you don't lose your way. The road here is quite smooth, but later on it gets rougher. So you need good solid shoes for this. And from the top of the road, from where you take the turn right at that sign, it's about a 10-minute walk at least. So watch out for these signs in the walls. There's one there, Clocha. So it's Clocha na Carraige. Clocha means a house built with stone. So we're following on it down now, and as we go down, let me tell you a little bit about it. So this is not a monastery we're going to. This is just one beehive hut. There were up to 600 of these huts on the island at one stage because it was a monastic island, and there were hundreds of monasteries, hundreds of monks living in these monasteries, up to 10 monasteries. So each monastery could have up to maybe 12 monks or more, and they're spread out across the island. So this monk seems to have lived alone in this little beehive hut, which would suggest he was an anchorite. Now, I've explained the anchorite elsewhere in connection with Temple Benin, but an anchorite is a monk who chooses to take the role of anchorite within the monastic community. So he's still a member of the community, but he's choosing to live separately because he's taking on what they called green martyrdom, which is a way of living that's very hard and much harder than the other monks in the community. So first of all, he lives alone, so he's isolated. But secondly, he stays awake at night. He vigils while the other monks sleep. So he's keeping watch and praying for them while they sleep. Also, he has particular duties. The monasteries that he's connected with send him usually visitors and pilgrims who are looking for confession or counselling or healing or prayers or blessings or anything like that. So even though he's on his own, he is obliged to welcome people. Now you see here that the path in is getting much rougher. So, not everybody's going to be able to do this safely. So be very careful, especially with these little walls that you have to cross, and the rough ground can have loose stones on it. There's the beehive hut now in the distance. You can see it up there on the more or less on the right of the picture. So that's where we're heading. We have to walk through this rough ground to get to it. And if you come in May or June, there's some beautiful flowers you're going to see all around. It's a beautifully isolated spot, very far away from even modern houses, not to mind the monasteries of the days of the monks. So we have to cross over this stile here now. It's a fairly rough crossing, I'll say, and down into the area in front of the beehive hut. You can see the shape of it. It's like a beehive, or like an egg, maybe. You think of it as like an egg. And it has this very small entrance, which is really only a little bit higher than waist height. So you have to stoop down to get into it. And there's an equivalent door on the far side. So this door here is facing west, and the door on the far side faces east. So maybe the monk living inside could block up one entrance when the wind was blowing from a certain direction, so that he could have some shelter from the drafts and use the other entrance on those days. That's my suspicion. Also, he could have shared, it's usually he, I suppose, but maybe it was a she either. He could have shared this monastic cell with some small animals like sheep or goats or pigs, which would be put down one end and he would sleep up the other end, and they would add a little bit of heat to the place, so it would make sense. Also, the beehive was possibly covered with clay and grass growing on it, which would make it again more insulated than it is today. It's built with a system of stonework called corbelling, which is very specialised. So the two outside walls approach each other. You'll see each layer of stone comes in a little bit towards the wall on the far side until the two walls meet at the top, and then they join together, and that holds it up. So it's quite very delicate way of building. And then the one window in it is facing south, which would get the most of the light. So I often bring groups here, and when I do, I sing a hymn to sort of recognise the sacredness of the place. So I'm going to sing a hymn here now, a very well-known Irish traditional hymn. Christan shiel, Christan for, in illan day, God Dr. Shin, Christan where, Christan tiask, Ilin today, Go Gaster Shin. O Oscaish, Isoish Gavas, the Holiva Christ, and Aul Harin. O Osco Kriach, Ni Kriach Achas, Ibarhus Nangrost, Gorau Amwid. These stories and all the other stories that are to be found on the Aran Islands can be found in my book Pocket Guide to Oran, Legends in the Landscape, and that's available from our website www.ashlingpublications.com, with Aisling spelled AISLING, so ashlingpublications.com. We have some other books here too, published by our own publishing company, ashlingpublications.com. And the first one up there is Young at Heart, Tools for Psychological Hygiene, written by Tess Harper Malloy. That's my wife. And she has been a Jungian student all her life and has studied the application of Jungian ideas to personality types. We've had plenty of personalities coming through our house all our lives, so she's had plenty of material to work on. And she introduces you to all the basic ideas of Carl Jung around your personality, introvert, extrovert, your shadow, your animus, your anima, all those key ideas which came from Carl Jung. She explains them all and introduced you to sort of practical examples of how they're applied. So a very useful book if you're into the psychology of Carl Jung. The other book there is Reimagining the Divine and a Celtic Spirituality of Experience. That's my latest book. And it's a sort of introducing you to the whole Celtic tradition, where spirituality is about going out into nature and experiencing the divine in nature. So it's very different from the more sort of popular religions that are around today, who all emphasize your creed and what you think and what you believe. This Celtic spiritual tradition emphasizes what you experience and invites you to get out there and experience the divine in all the wonder and magic and mystery of nature. So that's my latest book. And then there's one other book that I'd like to introduce you to, and that's my wife's latest book called Inishmore, Poems and Images of Oran, written by Tess Harper Malloy. And that's Tess's collection of photographs she's taken over the last 40 years on Inishmore, and linking them to poetry she's written about Inishmore over that same period. So it's a lovely book of poetry and photographs published on very high quality paper, so you get a really nice image. and lovely feel to the book. It's the sort of book that you put on your coffee table, and the sort of book that you maybe don't read from beginning to end, although you could. It's more that you dip into. It's a very enjoyable book, and I highly recommend it. So all of these books are available on our website, ashgreenpublications.com, and you'll also find them on other platforms.